You want to learn how to get the best looking slow motion footage for video projects? Well, I'm guessing you do, and that's the reason why you clicked this video, right? So stick around, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you a couple of tips on how you can achieve this. What's going on, beautiful people? Gobina right here, and you are definitely welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about slow motion, and I'm going to share with you guys a few things that you need to know before you start recording slow motion footage for your video project. The first thing you need to know is what kind of camera that you have to use while recording slow motion. Not all cameras can record in slow motion, so you need to keep that in mind. You want to go for a camera that records at least 50 or 60 frames per second. The next thing you want to keep in mind is your frame rates. You want to record at a frame rate which is higher than 24 or 25 frames per second. We're talking a bare minimum of 50 or 60 frames per second for you to be able to get some good looking slow motion footage. So keep that in mind. 50 or 60 frames per second is the bare minimum that you need to record in if you want to slow down your footage in post-production. So we're going to talk about our third point, which is your shutter speed. And for us to understand this better, we need to look at the 180-degree shutter angle rule. Sounds fancy, right? Well, it's actually simple. This rule basically says that your shutter speed has to be double whatever your frame rate is. So if you're shooting at 50 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to be 1/100th of a second. And if you're shooting at 100 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to be 1/200th of a second. So it's pretty simple. We're talking fractions of a second here. So keep that in mind. If you're shooting slow motion, you want your shutter speed to be double whatever your frame rate is. However, I'm gonna advise you to do something a little bit different depending on the situation. If you're gonna be filming some footage with really fast action, we're talking sports or whatever, I would suggest that you up your shutter speed a little bit higher than what this rule recommends. So if you want to shoot at 100 frames per second, I would advise that you probably go for 1/200th of a second. That way, your footage is gonna look even better when you slow it down in post, because the motion is gonna look sharper and much better than when you go with the 180-degree shutter angle rule. And guys, I'm talking about when you're shooting something which is really fast. These high shutter speeds is going to eliminate that motion blur, and your slow motion is just going to look crispier and sharper. So go ahead, try different values of shutter speeds and see how it works for you, but I would advise you to go for something a little bit higher than what is actually recommended. That way each frame is properly exposed for the length of the video. Okay, so another tip that you need to know, which is our fourth tip, is that you actually need to film motion when you're filming slow motion. Does that make any sense? Slow motion, motion. If you film a subject which is static and you slow it down in post-production, then it's gonna feel like a still photograph, which you might as well just have taken a still photograph and put it on there. So when you're filming slow motion, you actually wanna think, this is just common sense, film something which is moving, so that way when you slow it down, the brain is gonna perceive it in a different way, and it's just gonna look much more cooler than something which isn't moving, hence the name slow motion. That's just common sense, right? I mean, you knew that already, I'm assuming. So yeah, try to film motion. It's gonna make your footage look better, more dynamic, and even cooler. Alright, so our next tip, which is our fifth tip, is to actually slow down your footage in post-production. Some cameras are gonna slow down the footage for you in camera, but others wouldn't do that. So you need to be able to know how to slow down yourself when you go to the editing room. So if you're using something like a 1DX Mark II, then your footage is gonna be slowed down already when it comes off of the camera. But if you're a Sony shooter, then you have to slow it down yourself. Alright, so if you put all these tips together, I can promise you that your slow motion footage is gonna look much more better than it used to look. So just apply the simple rules, and well, they're not rules, they're just tips. Apply them and watch your footage get better. And to make it even better, I suggest that you apply some cinematic music, slap a color grade, throw some cinematic black bars, and you got a Hollywood looking movie. So go ahead, shoot, slow it down, and then you're gonna have some good content. All right, so that's it from me today. I really hope that this video wasn't somewhat helpful to you. If it was helpful to you, make sure you go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're a new one here, I would strongly advise that you give that subscribe button a left hook. That's all right. Well, stick to the left hook. Anyways, I'm just saying you should go ahead and subscribe. I'm gonna bring more content to you guys. That's it from me today, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.